Good evening.
Hello from
How
this
are
side
you?
of the US. Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's your week been so far?
Uh, it's been great. It's been kind of slow but busy. Um, Also, that's interesting. That's my first time going live on the internet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time.
No, thank you for like putting this together. It's you interview so many people that growing up, I look after to. Why
Hmm.
not skim reachers. So to me, being here and being able to tell my story, it's definitely interesting.
Nice.
Say
Well,
Carlos.
I look forward to speaking with you. So this is Laura, aka the Sound Sommelier, here with Nicola Gypsicola. I hope I pronounced that
That was
correctly.
good.
um, Nicola, what's your earliest memory of hip hop?
Oof. Okay, my earliest memory of hip hop. Wow, that's a trip down to memory lane. Um, I think I always been around hip hop in Italy in its own way. Um,
Hmm.
I started by doing graffiti, very bad graffiti, and that didn't last pretty much. They didn't last long because I don't know, it was not my thing. But I think that um, more than hip hop was like all of my friends and people around me were a lot into rap music.
Okay.
Um, so I grew up listening to a lot of rap music, being Italian rap music, European French rap music,
Hmm.
a lot of American rap music. I'm one of those 90s kids, so MTV was somehow second mom for many of us. And I don't know, I think it was probably like around 13, 14, something like this. But it wasn't a big thing until I actually started breakdance, a breakdance crew in my own city.
Nice.
Um, that's where things started to take a different shape and be more like um, hip hop for the sake of hip hop for me, more than just like it's nice music or there's this very interesting vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's I think is when I recall being the earliest when things we can say got a bit more serious for me when it comes to hip hop.
Hmm. Like you said, you were born and raised in Italy. Did your
Hmm.
family listen to a lot of music during your childhood? Are there any records you recall hearing that you connected with early on?
Um, that's not an interesting question. Like there was always music in my house. I'm from a small town, like 30 to 40 miles north of Milan.
Okay.
My dad is still big into the Beatles and some other weird music that when I was a kid, I had no idea about, to be honest. Um, but now, in retrospective, when I listen to the same record now, I'm like, oh wow, those are actually some very interesting records. Like, not just a bit about like Paul Anka or lots of music that for him was big when he was probably my age. Um, so there's always been a lot of music, lots of Italian classic, Lucio Battisti to name a few. My mom is really big fan of Lucio Battisti. But it was mainly um, Italian music, at least from my parents' side. I am the middle kid. Like I have two sisters, one younger and one older. And
Okay.
my older sister was more into like quote unquote international music. She was listening to like early 90s hip hop and that type of things because our age difference is not that much. So she was kind of hook me up on MTV and be like, oh,
Nice.
Tupac and Biggie and this type of things. But um, I had no much idea about it, to be honest, until I actually started going deeper into this. So, we can say there was always music on within my family. We used to road trip a lot when we were a kid. So, going from north of Italy to south of Italy, where we have a house, was always this 12-hour long drive. So lots of music, lots of radio. I still listen to some of this CD from time to time when I go back home.
Hmm.
Um, it's good memories.
Nice. Yeah, I remember road trips too. That's kind of how I fell in love. That's how I kind of fell in love with Bill Withers because my parents used to
Exactly.
listen all the time. So you mentioned that you got a little bit into it in Italy. What was the hip hop scene like in Italy? I didn't even wasn't really sure.
Um, it's interesting. There's a great documentary about it. I think on Netflix or somewhere else called Numero Zero, which kind of like talks about the early days of hip hop in Italy and
Nice.
how it was maybe in a similar way rough to the early days of hip hop in US.
Hmm.
But it's also interesting to me living in US now and being more part of the culture now than I used to be before. Um, you know, seeing it with my own eyes as a European person, you know, looking back to what used to be the Italian scene and what is the Italian scene nowadays, uh, I prefer more the old Italian scene, if I
Mm-hmm.
might say. I know people
Mm-hmm.
online don't hate me, but it is what it is. Um, you know, it was a bit more rough, more underground, less refined, more kind of like early 90s hip hop in New York, lots of boom bap music. Um, and then it started to be more refined. And now I think I'm out of the loop now. It's been probably 10 years now that I don't live in Italy anymore. It's been a lot of moving around. But I think the scene more is towards more um, trap music, I think, or something like this.
So it's pretty much the
Which,
same as here.
yeah, I'm not a fan. I kind of like, I detach a bit myself from it, to be honest, right now, because not living there, it's hard to keep track of who's who and what they're doing. Um, I have many friends that work with artists that I respect in Italy, you know, things like Colle del Fomento, Bassi Maestro. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of like, we have our pioneer, we could say, and they, you know, I listen to them. I make some of my friend, European and American friend, listening to them and try to explain like, hey, you know, this is the equivalent for us of like your Wu-Tang Clan or this and that. And it's funny because, you know, sometimes when I pump you know, their music in my car and make them listen to it, it's like, oh yeah, it does sound like Main Source. It sounds like this and that. So, you know,
Nice.
there's definitely a common thread, I might say. Um, you know, because again, like MTV when I was growing up was big. So people, I remember there's this urban legend of people making the trips to New York to see hip hop, which which I did, you know, like further off, but I did, and it's something that, you know, if you love hip hop, it's almost a must do, you know. So you know, we were a lot of influence, you know, there's a lot of influence from um, American music to what it is the hip hop scene in Italy.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I think it's still alive. I mean, at least a few of the names that I know are still doing things. I don't think they ever do like a European tour or you know, a worldwide tour, but um, some cats that I know did open for Wu-Tang Clan or you know, when the big hip hop artists came, you know, goes to Italy, they play in city like Milan or Rome or so on. So local, you know, local crew, which are big names in Italy, open for them. Um,
Nice.
but you know, we also had a lot of jam growing up. I used to go to a lot of jam in the park.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, being a b-boy, it was like, you know, lots of competition. For instance, the breaking scene is very active in Italy. Lots of names, lots of people, um, you know, being part of also international crew like Mighty Zulu Kings or um, probably a couple of people maybe in Rocksteady, like, I mean, Maurizio, next one, you know, all props to Maurizio because
Yeah.
you know, I met him personally, I know him personally. To me, he's like, he's hip hop in Italy. Like he brought a lot of things. He's you know, is still very active. That, you know, it's sort of like the bridge between um, the two sides of the thing for us.
Yeah, since the pandemic, I've seen a lot more international b-boys just on
Hmm.
Instagram and different platforms. It's really interesting to see. So
Yeah.
how old were you when you developed an interest in photography?
So photography came to my life late, actually, uh, 2015. I know
Oh,
it's, yeah, it's
whoa.
like, I know it's a crazy thing. I was looking
That
through the
question should
archive
have been way
today.
further down in my interview.
I was looking at my archive today and I finally managed to back up all the things that I have to back up. And
Mhm.
yeah, the first ever music show that I photographed was 2015 in
Mhm.
London. Um,
But music was
I
the first thing you photographed?
no, so I was always kind of jealous of envy of my friends going in trips and taking beautiful photos. And I used to travel a lot, you know, in Europe because of breakdancing, because of work, because of, you know, personal life type of things. And it was fun. You know, I always had great memories, but I never took any photo. Like I was literally like, hey, friend, never took any photo. You know, never, almost living the moment rather than just like focusing on capturing the moment.
Hmm.
Um, but then, you know, one day, because of work, I came to San Francisco for the first time ever. And at that time, I asked a friend like, "Hey, can I borrow your camera? Because I'm going to America. I never been to the West Coast. It was been my dream. I want to take some photos." He's like, "Yeah, sure, knock yourself out." And then I start taking photo, like random photo of everything and nothing. Like I don't even dare put a label to it. It was just like snapping photo of things that I see to send to my family or whatever, my friends in Italy to let them know like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm still alive. I made it." And then it kind of like got me very interested, and I was like, "Oh, this photo look good to me. I don't know if they are good, but they look good to me." So I sort of like decided to like buy a camera, like no idea what I was doing. And I know people who are watching this right now, they can confirm that. I just went to Best Buy and I bought a camera, and I was like, well, now I spend the money, I got to figure out how to use it. And from there, I just went. I never stopped taking photos.
Oh,
I'm still taking photos daily, probably. Like whenever I go out, I have a camera on me. My wife hates me for that. Like I always taking photos.
I don't think it's a
Not
bad thing.
she doesn't hate me, but I'm always like trying to get photo, and she's like, "Oh, just look at things now."
So you've said in your spare time you can be found taking photos or hunting for new pizza places. Is it a requirement that all Italians love pizza?
Um, wow, more than pasta, probably. Um, I don't know if all Italian love pizza. I love pizza. Like I could do pizza every day. Like,
But are you a pizza snob?
oh man. We should ask this to the comment. I guess people would say. I say, yeah, I'm a pizza snob. Like I don't do Hawaiian pizza. I am picky about my pizza. But I try everything though. Like I try Hawaiian pizza. It's not my cup of
As
tea,
long as you
but
try it, that's all that matters. There's a pizza spot in San Francisco that I love, and I can't think of the name right now.
oh, that's
Golden
many.
Boy. What do you think of Golden Boy pizza?
I've been, yeah, it's good. It's good pizza.
As
Yeah,
a New Yorker, I'm a bit of a pizza snob too. So.
Oh, you see, Hawaiian pizza is a violation. Correct.
Oh, Fran.
I try. I try. Yeah, no pineapple on pizza. No, absolutely. But I try. I try Chicago deep dish pizza. I try.
Oh, I don't like
Oh,
Chicago pizza.
okay, so for the record, because this is gonna be recorded, like when I was in London, I did try Nutella pizza.
Okay.
That's wild. That's a no-no. I rather take pineapples on pizza than Nutella pizza.
Yeah, that just sounds disgusting.
Yeah, but I make my own pizza. I like pizza. Pizza is life. Like people say you are what you eat. So 90%, I might be a pizza.
I mean, there are worse things.
Oh, sure.
So what's your favorite pizza joint in New York?
Ooh, Sorbilo. Sorbilo is a must-do when you're in New York. It's in Midtown, and then there's a place run by two Napolitan guys called Sanguinapo, something like this. I'll send you a link. They're both in Midtown, and yeah, I think that's the most authentic things that I could find in New York. Like I think I've been to Roberta. Is that the joint in Brooklyn, right?
It is, yeah.
I tried. It's good. People don't hate me, but I think there's too much hype.
That's okay.
But it's good. It's good. But yeah, Sorbillo is good. It's a place from Naples that they moved to New
I've
York.
never heard of it.
It is like the pizza you might get in Naples. So if you're into that, that's weird. Like if you're into that type of pizza,
Like the thin crust?
yes, thin crust, wood fire oven. So that's the pizza that I grew up with. Then
Nice.
people of Chicago did dish.
Ugh, not me. So tell me about your self-proclaimed never-ending love for New York.
Oh man, I don't know. Like I love New York. Like there's nothing to say more about that. I think as a kid, as I said to you, like I grew up in a small town next to a big town in Italy. I always dream about leaving and moving to New York one day. To me, it's always been the Mecca because, as a kid growing up listening to hip hop and watching MTV, way too much.
Yeah.
New York was the place where things were made, like things that were interesting to me, like hip hop, like breakdancing. Um, they were from New York. Like it's such a strong identity, and I always feel like New York is that specific place for hip hop. And when I went and visit, I was blown away. Like uh, I don't know, lame of me. I went to New York very late, probably
Not
my 25-ish, maybe, I don't know, something like this. Um, and I loved it. Like the city, the idea of like, taking the train and
mm-hmm.
just New York. The whole, maybe it's all in my head, but New York was the hip hop New York that I had in my head.
Not in your head.
So I don't know if that checks with the reality of living in New York, but every time I'm in New York was like, oh wow, here where Big L did this and that, or here is where they shot this album cover, or so on and so on. Like I always been like fascinated by New York. It's always been um, a big dream of mine to be in New York one day.
I understand. You let me know when you want to move here. I'll help you.
We'll see.
So you attended a private design school, which I won't
Mhm.
name for fear of butchering the pronunciation, in Milan, where you studied graphic design in the late 2000s, and right after graduation, you started working in the digital field. What are some of your best memories of working as a freelance designer while commuting between Stockholm, Milan, and London?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I studied in Milan. Actually, that's a fun fact about it. I applied to several school. I got rejected by several school. Um, and then I ended up studying design. And while studying design, I was already freelance as a designer,
Mm-hmm.
which was very interesting. I started working in Milan, and then after I graduated from university, I I was working. I've been asked to move to Sweden, basically. Long story short, and I pursued a master degree there in design, and then from there, I was working in Sweden, and one day I got a call like, "Hey, you want to move to London?" And without thinking about it, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So design, early, and this was again pre-photography. Like my main goal there was like, I just want to break dancing. That was my main thing. So design and breaking was going like side by side, and um, it was a way for me, to travel by, doing what I love doing as my job as a designer.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, being able to get in touch with like different reality of like, the breaking scene in Scandinavia, it's huge. The breaking scene in London is or was big when I moved there. So it was a way for me, to finally meet many of the people that I used to talk about. That there was no Instagram at the time, so it was very like
Yeah.
MySpace type of things. We're like, oh, my crew battle your crew here and there. Whenever I'm in London, let's go in training and this and that. So it was a very interesting time because, well, it was for many reasons. Like one, I had the chance to like leave Italy and um, see Europe more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a change of perspective, change of scenario, change of uh, city and stuff like that. And so moving from a small city to like European capitals like Stockholm, but also London was definitely something interesting and something I think I also was very formative for me, both as a designer, as a photographer, but also like a human being in the sense of like, you realize the amount of things that you love about being home when you're not home anymore.
Right.
So, moving to Stockholm, moving to London definitely make me, think a bit more about like, oh, what do I like about Italy that I don't have here anymore? Like what, you know, what's inspiring, what I did not like, and I'm happy that is gone. But what I also bring with me by traveling and working abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been interesting. It's super. I recommend everybody, if there's a chance to like travel and I don't know, cliche. People say like get out of your comfort zone, but um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very formative experience. Something as like having a bank account in Sweden where you don't speak any Swedish,
Yeah.
or like trying to figure out how to move your stuff from one side to the other of the country. It's interesting. It helps.
I'm sure. Before I forget to ask, you mentioned that it was back in the MySpace days, but is there any footage online of you breaking?
Oh, whew. Yeah, somewhere.
All right,
Um,
look
I'll
for it.
send I'll send you a link. But yeah, my crew is still active in Italy. You know, they're still dancing. I think we are now like third generation of my crew, which is to me is
Nice.
mind blowing. You know, like when we started breakdancing, it was like 5 kids in their 15, trying to put things together. Like we, you know, our generation, like, well, that's made me sound like a boomer, but um, when
You and
when we
I are about
first
the same
started,
generation. I'm only a few years older than you, so.
when I first started dancing, we were so scruffy, like literally dancing on the floor if we were
Mhm.
lucky, like on cardboards. I got weird photo of that time, like we it was old school. Let's put it this way. It was very very random. um,
Fran's vouching for you right now.
huh?
Fran is
Oh,
vouching.
yeah. I'm old now. I can't do move anymore now. Like I got a bad injury, and that's also why I pick up a camera. Like I I've been dancing for like I don't know, maybe 12, 15 years, something like this. And
Mm.
um, at some point, health check up with you, and I had a slip disc, which kind of like told me my body told me like, hey,
Yeah.
that's it. There's no more
Mhm.
dancing for you.
Mhm.
So for a while, I struggled in trying to find a way. Being breaking before photography, breaking was my I work and then I go training. Like there was no other things in between. To me, it was like I dance every bloody day.
Mhm.
Um, when I got injured and I couldn't dance anymore, I went to a phase when I was like, what I'm gonna do? Like, what a normal person that doesn't dance
When
do on
was
a
that?
Saturday.
What year was that?
I can't remember. It was probably the first year that I moved to London, so I don't know,
Mhm.
a while back. But late 20s, maybe something like that. And I at that time it's where maybe I pick up a camera and I was like, okay, maybe something nice came out of it. But to me, it was more like taking photo was a vessel to be still in the same environment that raised me.
Mhm.
The breakdancing, b-boys, and the jam and so on. So I went there with no expectation. I was like, okay, maybe that's what keeps me being surrounded by people that I like and um, you know I grew up with. And you know before even going into music, I spent a lot of time shooting my crew, photo of my crew,
Nice.
big breakdance event like UK B-Boy Championship. um, I in a fun way I wanted to be like one of those Red Bull photographer, always taking like action shot of
Uh-huh.
B-boys doing this and that, um, because that to me was the way to still being with
Just
the
to be
same
in it. Mhm.
environment. Um,
Mhm.
but then when I would start doing this and taking more photo of people dancing, I realized that hey, what's interesting to communicate instead is that um, yeah, you see them on stage, you see them in the street performing, but there's a whole thing of them being them.
Mhm.
When you remove them from a stage or from being a b-boy, that is super valuable. The training, uh, sometimes even the boring stuff like training every night and trying the same move over and over and over again. There's a beauty in that type of mundane doing things somehow that
Mhm.
that that when you're a b-boy and you've been through the process of like, okay, I gotta train even if I don't want to. There's a lot to it, and it wasn't much documented as far as I know at that time. So to me, it was like, oh, that's something that I like doing, and might be very interesting for other people to see.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's been pretty much before it got serious with photography. Like then it kind
Nice.
of blues.
So your passion for music has inspired many of your most recognizable images of artists like Mos Def, De La Soul, Madlib, and countless others. Do you have any favorite memories from shoots from over the last decade or last?
Wow, the last 5 years.
I was like, now I
Um,
have to change that question.
um, wow, most memorable moments. There's been there's been a lot of moments. Like I don't know if I can pinpoint like an exact moment. Like, all right, to give you my top three, the moment I met Eric B and Rakim and I managed to shoot their show here in San Francisco,
Hmm.
and the moment where Yo-Yo invited me to go with her to New York for UMTV Rap third anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, the moment I met Dave Chappelle or Ruth Picnic, like, but those are sort of like, cherry on top of things. Not to diminish this moment, but to me, what's always been like overwhelming and not overwhelming, but like makes me always feel very happy is the fact that the people I got in touch with by doing what I do, people like Frank or people that are, right, following this right now, I always feel like super welcome by everybody, which I think it's it's one of the things that makes me love hip hop a lot. It's not just the interest of like the music, this and that, and so on and so on, but it's like you always feel like
Yeah, it's
welcome
like
because
community. Mm-hmm.
exactly, it clicks. You know people that know people that
Mm-hmm.
do this and that and so on and so on. So there's always been this aspect of like, hey, no matter where I am, going here and there, not because I took photo of Questlove or Madlib of this and that, but it's because like I grew up uh, with hip hop in my own way, which is very different from the way that many people grew up with. But it's always been a constant, you know, in my teenage years. So, and it still is today. Like I'm not the type of person that show up at work is one person, show up at the gym is a different person. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there might be two names, my name and surname when it comes to work, and my
Mm-hmm.
alias or whatever when I take photo, but it's the same me. Um, I don't know. I think that I own a lot to photography when it comes to like memories and things that I was able to live thanks to photography.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's been some epic stuff. Um, tell us about Italian hip hop. Yeah, I know. You're late. We did. Julian, Julian is another guy that I met through photography and through hip hop, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
we have a ton of friends in common back home, and we never met before I moved to San Francisco. So
That's
again,
very cool.
this is one of the crazy thing about hip hop is it's always been the glue of my connection with people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
not in a cheeky way or like, oh, I'm hip hop. You're none of the bullshit, but it's always been
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I know this person. I used to dance with this guy. It's like, oh yeah, he used to be in the crew with my friend. I have
Mm-hmm.
to introduce you, and so on and so on. Things went very organically by just like I love hip hop, and it's always been the common denominator of a lot of things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm sure people can see that you're a genuine fan and not just some guy who's there to just take
I
photos.
hope, yeah, I hope. I mean, that's the moment for
I
people.
think the
Hey,
story you just tell is proof. Um, so you were the venue photographer at the Jazz Cafe in North London, where you captured legendary acts on that stage, including Dilated Peoples, KRS-One, Pharoah Monch, Questlove. Do you prefer shooting live shows or more structured, predictable settings?
that's a very interesting question. I gotta be honest with you. When I started doing photo, I had no idea what I was doing. I sometime even today I still have no idea what I'm doing. But I think um, there's a muscle memory in doing things right now.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in London, let's back it up a little. Like the reason why I started taking music photography is because I wanted to go to concerts. Like I was like, hey, how can I get to free shows? Like um, the
I
first
like it.
the first ever show that I took photo. Um, I made up this weird email that I was a photographer passing by London and I want to document the show, this and that, and they grant me a photo pass, and then I send the photo to the artist and to the venue, and those photo. Fast forward a little bit, this guy ended up being under Gil Patterson label in London, and my photo appeared to be the promo material.
That's awesome.
I had no idea. Um, I mean, I knew about it, but it's, I never took it to the point. It was like, oh, I want to make this
Great.
as a,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it as a career or as a profession because I feel that somehow I'm doing it as a side hustle to compare to what I do. But,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's always been like, um, I just want to capture this moment because I think this is going to be super important.
Right.
So when how I managed to get the gig at Jazz Cafe was completely random. Again, my 9 to 5, I was working as a designer. I was doing my own things, and I'm still doing my own thing, and I love doing my design job. But then, I love going to show, and I love being surrounded by people that like the same music that I like. So one day I literally carried my camera in my pocket, and I went into the venue, took few photos of a show. I think it was MAD, Egyptian Lover, and then Frank, a
Nice.
Stone Throw,
Showcase.
whatever shows those there. And I didn't give many fucks. I just was there, I was taking photo, and then when the show was over, I remember Dan Frank was like, "Oh yeah, you're the photographer." I'm like, "Sure." And I ended up taking some portrait of him, MAD, Egyptian Lover, and so on. And then out of sheer hey, I sent the photo to the venue. They might put them on Instagram, whatever. I couldn't care less. I sent them to them. They're like, "Whoa, these photos are amazing, but you are not the official photographer." I'm like, I'm not a photographer at all. Like I told them, I just love this guy, and you guys put on a lot of good show. Like let's collaborate. Let's build on this together. I care about taking photo of hip hop show. You care about getting good content. Man, we shake hands. I'm game.
Yeah.
And from there it went from taking one show a week to taking 5 show a week. Like I was able with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and she can vouch. I was always out taking photo every night. There was time where I was taking three show at night. From one club to this thing, and then somebody was hitting me up like, "Hey, we're doing this and that in south of London. Hop on a cab, give your name at the door, you get in." It went. I never saw myself being a photographer. It kind of exploded, under my hand in a very random and fun way. But there's been episode where KRS-One was in Europe, and he was like, "Hey, I like your photo. You wanna come on tour with us?" And I was like, "I had no idea, but I have a job. Like, it's not that I can call tomorrow and be like, 'Hey guys, I'm gonna be off for 2 weeks. I got a 2 week KRS-One.'" But there's been definitely an episode where it's been crazy. Being able to be on stage and backstage with talented people and names like the one you mentioned. It's been mind blowing. But again, going back to your question, studio versus live show. I think I would love to work more in a studio, but I am comfortable be on stage with people, maybe because I've been on a stage.
Right.
I'm comfortable. I think that the place where I'm more comfortable with is backstage. I know that sounds very weird the way I say, but
No, I know.
to me, it's more like what I cherish and I care about the most is the intimate moment of capture somebody when they're about to go and perform, right? Like in a very weird way, when somebody like KRS-One or Mos Def step on stage, people have an expectation towards them about performing a show.
Right.
But there's a beauty in who this person is backstage when they're not on stage. When there's this 5 minutes before the show when they're in their zone, thinking about their own stuff, and I think that's what I live the most, because there's a special intimacy that you have there with this person. And I although I speak a lot now, but when it comes to these things, I'm a fly on the wall. You don't even know I'm there until maybe you see the photo. To me, I think if I have to see myself in a category, I'll be tour photography maybe, or someone photographer documenting their journey, not their stage. There's a million people taking photo of somebody on stage from a pit, which are beautiful photos.
Right.
But there's very few people taking a photo of the same person on stage, showing them, showing to other people what they see when they're on stage performing, right? It's this thing lives together, but they offer a very different perspective. And what I think it's interesting about music, is be able to provide a different perspective to people. Show them, but also, it's not because you want to show what people do backstage and whatnot, because most people have their idea of what happened backstage. 90% of the time is not what happened
Like that.
backstage. No, no. But there's an intimacy to this moment that I cherish, and I think that it's worth collecting them and documenting them because they might not always be there, right? I lost a friend, and the thing that gathered me the most, it was like, oh, we don't have this memory of this photo, of this video, this and that. So being there to be able to document for other people this moment might not be valuable in the moment while things happen, but we gain a lot of value in a 10, 20 years time. I think about the Beatles and Abbey Road, right? Everybody is used to see the photo of the Beatles performing, but the beauty of the photo of the Beatles is like them recording the album, right? Then be themselves outside of being on a stage. And I think that there's a particular beauty towards those type of photography that I think, I wish I could see more. I see it, people think music photography is like running, gunning from a beat. To me, like music photography is like, no, let me show other people what you look like when you're not on stage. And, clearly you don't want to show this and that and this and that.
Right.
But the intimacy of somebody getting ready to get on stage, I think it's beautiful, and then studio photography, it's something that I would love to do. I never had a solid experience in studio photography for the sake of being a studio photographer. I highly respect for people like Mannion, Avedon, and people that are really able to work a set. But I think I'm the kind of person that like to let people be themselves and not directing people in doing this and that. So I think that the place where I shine the most, if we can say that, is like that in between, from where you get to the venue or when you're recording and doing your things.
Yeah, I can fully relate. As a journalist, my favorite interviews are always at the venue before the set or right after they get off the stage. So it's
like even think about Source of Mischief. Like I have great memory of them. We've been to LA, we've been here and there taking photo on stage, but the one that I cherish the most is like rehearsal for them at the compound or Hiro Day. I think that I have so many photos of Hiro Day, and some of them are not even photo on stage. Like the artists themselves on stage, it's beautiful, but it's like it's their job, right? The beauty to me is seeing them getting together backstage and be like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever. There's a specific type of beauty towards that intimacy, that friendship that you see when so many people get together. That's why, I was like, hey, I want all access pass. And people are like, why? I'm like, because the photo pass doesn't cut it. Like,
yeah,
I will turn you beautiful photo, but you will miss out on a lot of other things.
Yeah, I got to interview them when they were in Brooklyn 5 years ago at Rough Trade, and after the interview, they were playing ping pong and stuff. So it was really cool, just like hang out while they were doing that.
Yeah, Rough Trade is another interesting thing, right? Like I collaborate with them a lot. I shot quite a few. They had a store in London, and they were hosting small event. And to me,
yeah,
like,
they
it
have a
was
small
amazing
one in
because
Brooklyn too.
exactly, like you could go there and just like see a band like so close. It's beautiful. Like it's something that I miss, but it's definitely there's a different feeling compared to like go and see something in a mega stage where people are like so far away.
Yeah, I've never been to the one in London. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't look exactly like the Brooklyn one. I'm pretty sure it's London before the Brooklyn, because Brooklyn's not that old.
I had no idea. I remember seeing Charles Bradley at the one in Brooklyn. That was something.
So switching gears a little bit, you've worked as a designer for Us2, High Res, and Huge in London, but for the last 3 years, you've worked as a designer with Microsoft, which brought you to the Bay Area at the end of 2017. How has living in San Francisco affected your photography?
I mean, it's sunny. You know, I come from
Always
London, like,
and warm.
uh, how does it affect my photography? I think it helps me a lot. And I think here again, like I have to give mad props to like Fran, people like Carrie, uh, people that really supported me and embraced me when I moved here. And I was sending out cheeky email being like, hey, I know you're doing show. I want to take photo.
Mhm.
Grant me a pass. Like they really enabled me to do what I like doing. And I really owe them a lot for that. Um, Moving to San Francisco changed a lot of things, mainly because um, I most of the people that I used to shoot in London were from the US. So for me it was like, hey, I am actually here now. Like I don't have to tell you like, hey, when you're in London, let me know, I'll come by and we can take photo. Now it's been like, oh, I'm here, if you want to take photo, just that's my phone number. Um, and it changed a lot of things in the sense of like it really allows me to tap into um, a lot of more people to start with, but also to see the reality of a lot of things that maybe in my head I was dreaming about. Like again, I like to be, I'm a white kid from Italy and I grew up, not pretend, but like wanted to be like Ice Cube and be like, oh my God, that's the type of hip hop things that I like. You know,
Mhm.
then you grow up, you maybe outgrow these things or your perspective change. But um, I when I moved here, I've seen things that I never saw in Italy, the lowriders or this and that. To me, I was blown away. Like everything that I always want to take photo of, to see it happening for real was was wild. Like
Mhm.
almost like first time I went to New York and I see Rocksteady Crew dancing, I was like, damn, that's Rocksteady Crew. Like there's this crazy thing that I say to social media all the time. I'm like, I I grew up with your CD. Like I played
Mhm.
that thing so many times. It's been like, I don't know, at some point probably cracked open because I used to listen to this so often, and now I'm here sending you a text or
Mhm.
working with you on an album cover or just hanging out in Oakland. To me you know
I fully
it's
understand.
it's
Hmm.
wild to think about it because the 15 years old Nicola would have never thought about
Right.
meeting sugar free or um, sending a photo to Questlove.
Hmm.
That was not even a thing for me. So definitely moving here enabled me to be close to this reality and to be able maybe somehow to be part of it. I still don't know if I'm part of it, but to live in it a bit more
You're part of
compared to just like
it.
looking at it.
Yeah, I can confirm you're part of it.
Thanks.
In 2018, you shot the Mad Lib show with special guests Yassine Bey and Dave Chappelle at 10:15 in San Francisco. That must have been bananas. What was the vibe like that night? I can't imagine that setting was anything less than ideal for you.
That, yeah, that was why. Like that. First of all, there's the crazy things about it. Like, I knew Madlib in London. I met Madlib. I met Egon back in London. We stay in touch over email. So when they told me like, hey, we're playing in San Francisco, we were speaking over email, but they didn't give me any details. Like, oh, cool, it's gonna be a Madlib show. I mean, a Madlib show is always a show.
Yeah.
It's a wild show to start with.
Hmm.
But I had no clue special guest was Mos Def and nonetheless Dave Chappelle. Like I honestly had no idea. So I remember like, I was there like again, thanks to Carrie, hooked me up with the pass, I was able to shoot everything, backstage, on stage, whatever. Um and I mean I don't know, it was just wild. Like I remember being on stage and then behind me Mos Def step on stage. And I was like, oh shit, that's Mos Def. And then, while Mos Def I was taking photo was doing his thing, Dave Chappelle show up. Uh, and that's where I lost it, because the whole venue went crazy. To be on stage to witness like, Dave Chappelle and Mos Def and Medley being together on stage was,
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I go back to the 50 years old me. I was like, never ever believed something like this could.
Hmm.
I mean, no, I I knew maybe that I was able to see a concert like that from the stage.
Right.
I would have never believed if, if the present me would go back in time and be like, hey, you're gonna see this, I'll be like, no, that would never ever happen.
Hmm.
Carlos is saying in the comment that that thing was bonk. Like it was crazy. Like I have this crazy photo. I think I sent it to you, like Dave Chappelle stage diving.
It's amazing.
It was a while. Like, I remember vividly, like Medley was spinning and Mos Def was singing and Dave was like, "Yo, Medley, play Wu-Tang Clan." And for whatever reason they were not listening to each other.
Uh-huh.
And Dave was like, "Yo, play Wu-Tang Clan, play Wu-Tang Clan." And I have this crazy photo of Dave doing the Wu-Tang Clan sign. It's
Madlib was
it
probably
was,
like no requests.
I don't know. I don't know, probably, but the whole atmosphere in the venue was wild. Like, yeah, Carlos should tap in and tell you stuff, but it was, I don't know, it was definitely something crazy. Yeah, I mean, you put Dave, Madlib, and Mos Def in the same room.
Yeah.
It has to be.
The last Black Star show I saw, they brought out Dave and Tiffany Haddish, and that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your photos have been viewed on the pages of countless publications, including Salad Days, The Guardian, Bonafide, Billboard. At what point did you realize that you had achieved a certain level of success in the photography industry?
When I read your question, I was like, yeah. Also, I didn't say friends said it. I didn't say it. But when I read this question, I was like, I actually never thought I made it. Right? I think it's that it really makes me think a lot. Like, what does it mean you made it? Right? Uh, Again, if we go back to like uh, me being 15 years old from Italy, dreaming of living in New York and yada yada. Fast forward to today, I could say to that kid, "You made it," right? Like I live here. I took photo. I hang out with people that I grew up listening to. Uh, it's mind blowing to me.
Mhm.
If if I am playing the photographer, looking at the engagement and the number, hell no. Like, I'm far from making it. Like, nah, it's not working. No, it's not working for me. It's not true. It's not it's not what I aspire to.
Mhm.
If if making it, it's like being recognized by people that I respect and grew up listening to, like Source of Mischief or Madlib and all of these things, then I might say that I might be onto something good. I don't think I made it as like I don't think you never made it, to be
I
honest.
think
That
no. I think it's all relative though. It's your definition of success. It's not even about making it. It's like, do I feel like I've achieved a certain level of success at something that I love doing?
yes, I think that the people, people that know me and know how much I care about this thing, whatever things we want to call it,
Hmm.
know how much passionate I am about it and how much I value spending time with you or with an artist and taking photo or doing something because it's really what makes me keep me going. It's just such a nice thing for me. Like,
Hmm.
um, I I think that we kind of live in today where we tend to look too much at this number, and it's beautiful. Like, I wish I had like a gazillion follower give me this and that and mad prof, but I am more happy when there's people like Frank or Source of Mischief or give me a high five or call me and be like, hey man, that's for a while, or like you know uh, when I see artists like Source of Mischief using my photo as their cover for Spotify, which is the way people consume music now. They mean like, shit, man, that's my photo. That means that kids that will look up to them nowadays will see my work. So they will be to introduce to them through what I made as an artifact for them, right? And there's a beauty to it. So if we define success by that, then I think I'm in the right direction. I don't think I make it. I don't think I'll probably ever make it, because I personally don't believe on the fact that like, hey, that's it, that's done. There's nothing more. There's always something, right? And the more you keep doing something, the more you will start to look at things in a different way, and you will chase something that is a different goal. But again, the Nicola kids from Italy dreaming of living in the States and do this and that, I will give him a big high five right now and be like, you've been putting the works. But definitely like the daily, I don't want to say the daily reassurance of like you doing good, but it's stuff like, hey, when I was in New York, Egon sent me an email to be like, hey, Madlib and myself and Freddie Gibbs will be in Napa doing a show. We can swing by San Francisco, pick you up if you want to come and document it. That's, to me, is the affirmation of like, you're doing something good. Then, I get mad pissed off when I look at the number and I post a photo and nobody give a fuck. I'm like, man, I'm failing. But at the same time, I learn kind of, not to care too much about it. That's, to me, it's all in the long run, right? Like many things are like a marathon, and I think that if you take photography as a sprint, it ain't gonna work. Like it could work, but there's for the type of things that I do and I care about, it's really in the long run. Is that, Freddie, like documenting Freddie now while he's doing his own things. These things live in the now and they're beautiful, but in the long run, when, in 10 years time, when maybe we catch up for a coffee and we look back, those are the things like, oh man, these are good memories. Go back to what we said about the Beatles before.
Right.
See them performing and recording now that they're not doing anymore. That's, to me, the beauty of these things. So I don't know. I don't even know if that answered your question, but
no, it did. But I like that you mentioned about your picture on Spotify and the kids finding out about Souls of Mischief that way. Just because it could be that in 10 years time, a lot more people find out about you, because I know when I used to be into music and hip hop when I was 12, 13, I didn't care about who the producer was or who did the cover art. But now, whatever, 20 plus years later, I do look back at that kind of stuff and try to look into it more. So it could just be,
it's different.
Much more of a marathon.
I think that, to me, is definitely like, having the validation from people that I respect. Again, Source of Mischief, Madlib, even you, friends, like you give me the chance to be on this interview with many people that I grew up looking at. Why not? Skim Richer, whoever. It's a confirmation, like, okay, it's good, and if there's one big takeaway that is like, is out of this, like, sometime when you feel stuff in your guts, just go with it. Like there's a beauty, not a beauty, but like there's, trust your instinct a bit, and sometimes it works. Like, again, I started taking photos 5 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. And now you ask me a question like, hey, your photo appear on this. Do you think you make it? I'm like, I never saw it as making it, right? Like I when I started, I never even think about, do I want to do a Rolling Stone cover? Like, hey, if anybody from Rolling Stone want to hire me to make a cover, I'll do it. But I never start with the idea of like, I want my photo here or there. There was maybe this daydreaming of having my photo in Times Square one day, but it's never been the go-to. It's always been like this, oh man, the street cred, right?
That's good though. You don't have the lofty goals that a lot of people strive to achieve, and then they kind of feel crushed when that doesn't happen. So
And that's the thing. Like, I see also as myself as a designer. You know, when I was living in my small town in Italy, I wanted to move away. I wanted to always do more and more and more and more, till you reach a point where you ask yourself, what is more? Like, what's more is more. Um, and a lot of people that maybe, let's call them creative people, right? That do photography as much as design or visual art, whatever you want to call it. I see many of them going over more, try to achieve more, and they missing out on the fact that they're achieving a lot.
yeah,
In the moment that they're achieving stuff, like, um, it, you know, it takes a moment to recognize this, but you know, people always tend to chase a lot of things, and I think it's important to have dreams and want to achieve them, but it's also very important to like remind yourself that you're doing a small step every day towards something that you didn't do before. And again, I don't want to get like all spiritual and stuff, because I'm not a spiritual person
no, I get
or
what
any
you're
of these
saying.
things, but you know what I mean. It's important to have a goal, but it's important to enjoy the small victory that you get to that goal, right?
Right, it's so true.
My first Hiro day, I'm like, whoa! My first Hiro day with the all access pass, I was blown away.
So your Instagram feed is full of photos from your travels over the years. What city would you say you've taken the most pictures of?
Oh, I don't know. Wait, I'm putting some water.
Or you can even say your favorite city to take pictures of, but
Wow. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, there's a lot of things that I am definitely a city person. Although I try to push myself to be hanging out in nature and
yeah.
go and see a sunset, I'm a city person. Like, I grew up. I spent most of my life in Milan. Like, Milan is bricks. It's probably closer to New York, right? So I do like a city environment. Going back again, I love the photo I took in New York, and they're nothing special, but it's just like that city vibe. Like, some of my friends in Italy think I'm crazy because I love Milan. They're like, "The fuck, dude?" I'm like, "Well, it's beautiful. This big concrete building. Um, Again, I spent a lot of time in London, a lot of time in Paris. It's just beautiful to be out in a city and and take all in the city vibe.
I agree.
Just walking around. I don't know which probably Tokyo. Some of my favorite photo. That was an epic trip. But the thing, because it's a completely different way of living that you can see by being in Tokyo compared to
Yeah.
the European me was used to when I was living in Europe.
Yeah, I can see that. So the slideshow on your homepage is a who's who of hip hop history with stills of legends like Rakim and Black Thought to Pete Rock and Kool Keith to Mike D. As someone who is a fan first, what has it been like getting to spend time with some of hip hop's finest? You've talked about it a bit, but just if you could.
What is alive? Um, it is wild. Like, again, like the young Nicola will be thrilled about it. The present Nicola is still thrilled about it. Um, it's it's different. I think I get to know people on a human level, which I think it's beautiful. Being able to connect, for instance, with Questlove or the Roots on a human level, and not just like, hey, you performing, I want to take photo of you performing. It is something different. Um, I have a lot of respect and appreciation for Rakim for really still keeping it real to today, like, constantly. Um, I don't know. It's different. I think getting to know people that I admire a lot and that I used to maybe, like, I don't want to say idolize, but like, let's put it that way, like, and getting to know them as real human was definitely a game changer for me, because um, you get to know a lot of things that people might not know, And then I can see when they're performing a show, for instance. And when I go to show and I don't take photo, which is rare, I got to really enjoy some of the details of things because I'm like, oh, I know he's doing this because he told me about this and that. So you start to look things in a different way. But yeah, I don't know if that answer your question. Feel free to cut me off because I tend to like space out a lot.
No, I like when people go on tangents when I ask questions.
Okay.
How did you become involved with the A+ and the Architect album Chamber Games, which dropped in August of this year?
Oh, they sent me a text. No, it's I spent a lot of time with them. When I first met them, we were in London at Jazz Cafe. So again, we go back to like Jazz Cafe, exactly Jazz Cafe backstage, taking photo of them. And I'm like, hey, if I would ever make it to the US, I'll hit you up. We take a photo. And then I made it to US and I called them. I was like, hey, I do live here. Like, let's take photo. And I started taking photo of their show here and there. And we grew up, closer in the sense of like, they know me, they know how I shoot. They know I'm never in the way. I let them do the things. I'm a fly on the wall. So they are comfortable having me around. I mean, feel free to correct me if not, but they know me. There's a level of trust that we have to each other where I know and I respect their vision, and I think they it's likewise on their side. And when I was speaking with Architect and A+, I was like, hey, we're doing an album, and I was like, yeah, let's shoot some photo. Like, let me know what's the idea, and we can figure it out. And it came out very organically, to be honest with you. Like, we spoke about it. I met them a few times. I listened to the album. I took photo of them while they were, recording the album. Spent a lot of time, with them in the booths while they were doing their things. And I was just like, they're taking photo and listening to the album. And we actually worked on 3 albums on in the last since the quarantine all started, right? Chamber Game and a couple of other that Black Switzerland and Cold Country that dropped a week ago, probably something like this. So we started with the first one, and then we take it from there. Like, hey, they were like, hey, we're doing another one. You want to shoot again? I was like, sure, let's go. And again, maybe also because that's why I think being a designer and a photographer kind of like collide. Right. Me being a designer, I was able to bring to the conversation like, hey, what do we want to do? Like, do we want to, it's an LP, it's a digital version, like.
You have a vision.
Exactly, like I always thought like I'm here to support you and help you translating your vision into something, something real. Not because it's not real, because it's already real, but I'm happy to use my skill to help you making things come alive. And we took it from there. Like, we literally shot the photo in one night at the studio while they were recording. We put up a backdrop, a light, took the photo, show them what I had in mind on the studio computer. And fast forward 2 weeks later, they put it out, and from there, then we say, okay, we're doing a second project, let's do it again. And then it's like, we're doing a third project, let's do it again. And then Architect and Tajay started working on a different project, and they're like, hey, let's shoot. So we shoot press photo, we shoot album covers, and then I know Opio and Lou are working on a project, so I went there taking photo of Lou and Opio doing their things. This sounds probably very, very cheeky, but literally we text each other and be like, hey, when you're recording? Tomorrow. All right, I'll swing by. Like, I get on my car at whatever time of the night is. I go to Istoka and get in the studio and stay there until they're done, pretty much.
How does that affect your day job?
Huh?
How does that affect your day job? Are you like wasted tired, then I'd say?
I I don't know. I always sleep like a baby. But it's also true. Like I have to maintain a balance between what I do and what I do with my work. Like I love my work and I'm a professional. So I wake up, go to work, do my things.
Mhm.
And not because I want to keep the things separate. Because when I'm at work, I'm openly talking about like, hey, I took photo with this guy and this guy yesterday, or oh, I have to take the weekend off because I'm going
Mhm.
here and there with that person. Um, but I I don't know how I manage. Somehow I manage. Uh, I sleep, and when I sleep, I just like knock off. Like,
We are very similar there. So there, not now, obviously, but in past years, there have been weeks where I've gone to shows 3, 4 times a week and got home 2, 3 a.m. and had to be at work the next day at
oh,
8:30. So, yeah,
oh yeah. That's like I wouldn't say normal because it's not normal, but there's been day where
right.
I remember vividly like going to work, do my thing, come home, take a shower, get my stuff together, and prep my bag and make sure that everything was aligned,
Mm-hmm.
and go to the show, and then halfway, I remember one I was like taking photo of Questlove doing a DJ set here, and then somebody hit me up like, "Hey, Peanut Butter Wolf and then Frank playing on the other side of
Uh-huh.
town. If you want to roll, there's your name on the door. What you gotta do? You gotta say
How
no."
can
I
you say
packed,
no to that? Yeah.
packed my bag, went,
Mm-hmm.
and then at like 4 a.m. came home, knocked myself to sleep for 4 hours, and then coffee.
I get it.
Um, but that's interesting. Like at the same time, like if as a word of advice that I like to give to people is like, and this is something that I learned the hard way, is like, somehow sometimes say no, it's okay.
Right.
Like, don't take uh everything, like I see too many people trying to push for this and
Mm-hmm.
that, and then the result are mediocre, and I'm like, to me it's always been quality over quantity, right? So if I know that I'm dead tired and I cannot do it, I'll be like,
Excellent.
I can send you a friend, but I don't want to come and take bad photo or be not in the mood to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because it will show. And again, because I have so much respect for the people that are doing this thing, that I'm like, no. But then on the other side, as Carlos said, team no sleep. Carlos know, like, friend, even like I remember like sometimes Oakland 3 a.m. be like, should we go home? Like it's about time that we all go home.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Perfect.
I can't complain. I love it. Like it's something that I miss a lot now. But um, you know, that there's larger goals right now to achieve than
Yeah,
going to
I
a
get it.
show.
So what was your last shoot before the pandemic hit?
Oof.
Have you done any socially distanced ones since?
Mm. Also, all the project with um, A plus and Architect
Mm-hmm.
were born during quarantine.
Oh, okay.
So it was a lot of like social distance within a studio
Yeah.
uh, type of shooting. Like we shot most of the press photo and things outside.
Mm-hmm.
Always being safe in
Right.
remote park of East Oakland at night. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's probably the last thing that I shot was the album cover, and then a couple of other sessions with upcoming artists from Oakland. But again, everyone that I know and that I'm in touch with, it's being super cautious about it, and I am not shy of declining. Sometimes people come like, "Hey," I'm like, I don't think it's the moment to do this. Not because I don't want to, I would really love to, but because of the type of photo that I take, I need to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Like I don't wanna come quickly and leave. That's not me. I come, we take our time. Uh, you tell me about you, and meanwhile I take photo, and,
Mm-hmm.
and we build something out of it. I'm not the type of person that show up, get the job, and leave. I mean,
Right.
to me, there's always been like an aspect of like I want to get to know you, to in order for me to be able to get to the photo that I think are valuable.
I think that's a great aspect of your work.
I try.
You and I have talked about this. Have you ever thought about putting together a collection of your photos for like a coffee table book of sorts?
Man, all right. So the question is, if I thought about it, the answer is yes. Did I do it? No. Did I regret it? Yes.
Don't even regret it. You can still do it.
No, absolutely. I think there's how can I put that without sounding stupid? Like, I I somehow there you go. I somehow think that I should do it. Again, it's not for me. It's not for the fame or having a book or stuff. But a lot of time I think I suffer from downplaying myself a bit in the sense of like I look at people that do books, I don't know, the contact high books or
Right.
many of the people that I look up to as a photographer, and that's where I get like, I am not there. Like who would be interested in having my book, for instance? Like, Freddie can vouch for this because exactly because people are like, no, you should definitely do it. Like you should definitely do an exhibition. Like Freddie and I have been talking about it a lot, and maybe we should make it happen at some point. I am definitely open, to making it, but I think that when I'll make it, I want to make it with a purpose that is a bit larger than just like make a book, for instance. Like I think that make a book for the sake of making a book.
I don't even think it'd be that. And this is just my take, but I think it would be a way to kind of get your name out there more, just because let your work speak for itself, as opposed to people seeing your name and being like, oh, we need to get that because it's Nico. It could be like, wow, look at these photos. Who took all these amazing photos? Oh, we need to look into him more.
I think again, I think that speaks to
Freddie, you
to
gotta
what we
make
said before about about getting the validation from other people about your work are worth a book or an exhibition. And many times my wife can vouch for that. Like I speak about like, oh, I don't know if I should make a book. We should not make a book. Maybe I should do something, this and that. But I think that it's about time that maybe I put something out there because there's a lot of material. I send you a preview of the portfolio, the new one that is coming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I could show to people that people don't see. And
the photos on your webpage alone could be a book.
I know. I'm gonna get burned by this later on because my wife is like, "Oh, your photo alone, these things are already good enough."
I hit up Fran as soon as I saw that picture of him.
It's like maybe that's one of the classic Nicola moments where I should just get my shit together and make a book without questioning too much about the fact that is it gonna be seen or wanted by people or so on and so on.
Even if it's not right now, it will.
Probably. I what I would like to do definitely is like I would love to do an exhibition, displaying my works, and having people, like I think Freddie has the right venue for this.
That family fair is a great place to do it.
I don't want to put Freddie on the spot for this, but I think that there's the level of intimacy that I like when I go to a show, when I work with an artist in taking their photo, that place has, because it's not too big, but it's not too small. That there's enough space for people to mingle. There's enough space to look at the art, and there's enough people to get to know me. Like I remember, the show with Wajid with the Dilla photo.
So sad I didn't go to that one.
To me, that's the type of thing that I really aspire to do and to look for, because it's like, here's one person that lived that moment and cherished that moment and share with other people, and it is what it is. Like, this is his point of view, which is a completely different thing from what you used to see of J Dilla. And having him there and be able to talk to him and be like, hey, what about this? What about that? it's the type of conversation that I like to have uh, with people. Like Freddie and I spend a lot of time together, and we go over this topic often about, like, the B plus photo, Jeanette
I was just
photo.
gonna say same with the B plus one. I got to see that one at Family Affair. Mm.
It's you know it, these are the type of, if I have to see, where do you see yourself in 10 years, I'm like, photography wise, towards the B plus type of things, towards the Jeanette Beckham type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
um, not because of emulation or wanna be like them, but it's because of, when I look at their photo and I see the subject and the way they took this photo,
Mm-hmm.
to me it's like, oh, these people live that moment. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
you were that, you don't happen to take a photo of this. You took a photo of this because you're fully aware of what this thing is, and you decide to document it. um, that's why I think that, again, we go back to, like, where do you live as a photographer, the backstage, the tour element of things, the behind the scene, if you want to call it. um, and if I were to make a book or an exhibition, I want it to be about this moment, not DMX on stage. Although those are beautiful photos, but it's a DMX photo. I bet Getty Images gazillion of photo of DMX. It's a weird thing. I think, I get many people bugging me about it, like, hey, make a book, man. Like, make something, sell print, do something. Um, and maybe it's just like a call to me to be like, hey,
You
start
could start
working
with
on
a
it.
run of prints. Do like a
Yeah,
limited run of prints.
I think it's interesting. Like, maybe this is something that has to do with me, on the fact that I struggle to see. Maybe it doesn't have to do with me, but uh, I look at the type of photo that sell. Although it's a very weird thing to say, but
Mm-hmm.
I who would have my photo on a living, like, my photo would not live in a hotel lobby, for instance. Like,
Why
um,
not?
I don't know, why. Feel free to, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but I always think about my photo tailored to the people that that care about it, right? Um, and I know it's niche, but I think it's important that it's niche and it's not mainstream. Um,
Okay.
you know, we joke a lot, when I discuss about photo. Like, I, no disrespect, but I couldn't give a fuck about taking photo of Justin Bieber. Like, um, simply because the photo might turn out good, but it's not something that I grew up with or
Mm-hmm.
care about. It's not something that I live. So I think that would transpire through the photo. And when I think about putting something like out in the world, like a book or something else, I'm like, who will get it, and why they will get it, what they will be curious to see about it. And that's probably what stops me about it. But
I understand, but I feel like the same person that would buy a B plus or a Jeanette Beckman book would buy your book.
hey, I made it.
I
No, I
stand
know
behind that
it
too.
would it would be amazing. I think it's probably long overdue. I think that maybe something that makes me shy about it is the fact that, you say in your question, your decade of taking photo. My decade is 5 years, so, you know maybe that's what
But I
I
think that
suffer.
shows like how much work you've done because I've been a fan of yours for years, but I didn't realize that it was only like the last whatever
Yeah, it's
3 or 4
literally
years.
2016, 2015 to today. Is
Mm.
that's probably what I think about, like, the B plus things. I'm like, wow, this guy has a crazy archive of things. I have a crazy archive of stuff, but I don't know, maybe, that's where maybe I tend to compare myself to other people more, and getting um,
Mm-hmm.
shy of what other people are doing.
Right.
Um, I don't know, maybe uh, Carlos will buy it, definitely. Uh, maybe next year we make it out.
We'll do it. We can
We'll
do a
see.
Kickstarter. We'll make it happen.
Ideally, I would love to make
I'm not gonna
you
stop
know
bugging you about
I would
it.
love to make an exhibition and having people perform in the exhibition, for instance. That would
That'd
be,
be
I think
dope.
that would be
Mm-hmm.
an interesting thing. Although with all the amount of people I shot, it's gonna be wild to try to get people together.
I was gonna
But
say it might have to be on hold for a little bit, but it'll happen.
yeah, we'll see.
Do you believe a major shift in the medium will take place over the next 5 or 10 years with what's going on in the world right now?
Mm, a medium, by medium you mean the photography medium itself?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I see many people like doing FaceTime photo shoot type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if we go back to what we said before, like I don't, because again, my type of photo live of the fact that me and you need to meet. I need to shake your hands and we need to get to know each other
Mm-hmm.
for me to take photos of you. Um, I definitely think the medium will always change. There's no doubt about it. I'm curious to see what people will come out with. Absolutely, because that's a funny thing. For instance, I started taking photo in the digital world, only taking digital photo to the point that today I don't take very few digital photo, and I shoot most of my stuff on film. Um, it's probably backwards, but maybe from my point of view, if it's more forward than backward because film allowed me to get a physical, tangible something
Mm-hmm.
that would probably last the time. Working also in tech and be aware of like how much and how fast things change. I feel that digital is definitely an amazing thing, but there would be some more digital, right? Call it
Mm-hmm.
digital 2.0, call it whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. There's always going to be something, and I hope and think that it will probably push things forward. I'm curious to see what other will do. I
Yeah.
I don't know if photography will change. Like I don't think photography can change. There's so much power in just like having an image, right? The moment you press the thing, you freeze that split second, and that will last. Um, I don't know. Probably we're gonna have
Yeah, I
super
guess.
great camera. I bet.
So minus the part about you saying you have to meet someone, but like say you've already met the person taking photos, what are your thoughts on virtual exhibitions and how they'll play a role in the art world going forward?
I think for instance that's interesting, right? When I used to live in London, I used to go often to the Tate, and Tate had this beautiful exhibition about gifts. And in the beginning, I was like, "Why the fuck they put gifts in the museum?" Um, but then I went to see it, and the art has been replaced by screen, which it's interesting itself. But when I think about virtual exhibition and you know how many people you can reach by doing what you do, like the medium doesn't change. Like the way you apply photography, I take a good photo of you, it could live on your phone, it could live on a billboard, it could live on a book, it could live whatever. What's matters is that that photo of you is the photo of you, right? um I I'm not I don't want to say I'm afraid. Like I embrace these type of things, and I think that there's a beauty in experimenting with these things. Also, in London, I used to work for a high res, which is known to be experimental with these type
Right.
of things. And I think that there's a beauty in trying to see what it could be. I don't think we'll ever replace the feeling of going to a museum and see something. Don't touch it. I see way too many people touching. Oh
Hmm.
wow, fame from MLP join? That's big. Uh, there's there's a there's a beauty in just going to a museum and be able to see your photo display there. We talk about Beyond the Street, we talk about contact high exhibition. Um, it is, those archive files have been for so long into somebody's studio and nobody saw them. And when you actually get to see them hang on a wall, with proper lighting and everything, it has a different feeling. Um, but, on the other side, I think that when I was living in Italy, to me, the way to see things was online, for instance, or through TV. So props to people that organize, virtual exhibition because it allows you to reach out um, a broader audience that just like, people that could actually go and see.
Right.
I think we live in an era where it's important to share knowledge, and there is everything set up in place to be able to share knowledge, right? Just look at this, the fact that you and I can have an interview here, and gazillion people might be able to tap in the future.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I can vouch that maybe like 10 to 20 people be on the live, but then the next day I'll see like over 100 people have watched it. So
I think that this some people might be afraid of technology. I think that there's a beauty in embracing technology for the sake of technology allowing you to do more. And again, to me that's interesting. I'm 35, I'm from 86. Like I saw the change of like owning the vinyl, on a CD and a cassette to the iPod Shuffle or whatever it used to be to going fully digital. And I don't want to do that kind of boomer type of discussion, but
Right.
it's beautiful to see this thing transforming and changing because right now you can open your Spotify and listen to gazillion things. Is this correct for the artist? Maybe not. But it provides you a way to educate yourself on a lot of things. And I learned photography through YouTube. I never studied photography. I couldn't care about photography much until 5 years ago. My whole photography learning is failing often, a ton, really a ton. Skillshare, YouTube video, and just like do it. Putting yourself out there and asking people all those stuff, and not be afraid of be like, no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot shoot that. I got so many refusing aspects to this and that.
Well, I think it says a lot that you're still doing it, even though you've had a bunch of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the thing, right? I see many photographers going there and just like boom in the backstage and take photo. I'm like, there's an etiquette to do things,
Right.
which it's a big etiquette in the way you approach an artist, in the way you do things. These people are people and they're doing a job. You cannot just like jump in there and snap a photo and get out. People will be like, wait, what?
You can see it in their photos.
It's terrible, and I think it kills the vibe, right? But again, I asked many people, hey, can I come take this photo? And that's actually another interesting thing. Like, I used to ask a lot of people to take photo. Now there's a lot of people asking me to take photo of them, which I think that's to me is the type of validation shift that I look as a photographer and be like, we are onto something good. Because it's not me chasing you like, can I get an interview? But it's you chasing me like, can we do an interview? I'm like, okay, so somebody is noticing. But in the early days, there was also
good karma.
Yeah, I think that in the early days, there's been a lot of no, who are you, why, I don't know you, which is fair. And my big takeaway also for people that maybe just be starting in photography is like, don't take this as a bad thing. Like, I still get a lot of no.
Right.
You have no idea how many email I send and I never get a reply, or it's gonna be interesting going in the future because I would love to start working more with magazine on editorial content, for instance. Magazine being print or online type of things. I don't know. You do an interview, I take the photo, so it comes with a level of intimacy with an artist that it's required. And I'm aware that a lot of people will be like, nah, I'm okay. We don't need this and that. So I embrace it. I'm not afraid of trying out. Same with this interview. Same with a digital exhibition. If they ask me tomorrow, why not? That's what I always say to people.
You gotta be open to everything.
Hey, worst case scenario, they say no. It's cool.
Exactly.
I mean, whatever.
So you were asked by Souls of Mischief to document their time at the De Young Museum in December of last year. How did it feel to see your work up on the wall of that same museum in San Francisco for the first time?
Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy for so many reasons to me. Like San Francisco is the city that now I call home because I live here. So being able to to have a photo in a museum um, in a city where I live, of being able to have a photo of hip hop of a group that I respect in a city where I live and where they kind of grew up, Oakland and San Francisco. To me, it's major because it kind of go full circle in the sense of like, you guys help put the Bay Area on the map when it comes to hip hop. Uh, I haven't put anything on the map at all, but I was able, to collaborate with them and witness this thing, and having one of these photos validation printed as a timeline in the museum. It's it's huge. Like, the first time I saw it, that's actually a crazy thing because it was supposed to be an exhibition all around the Golden Gate Park and in the museum to celebrate their anniversary, and then
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit, so everything went south. But there's the same photo is in Google Image, for instance, on the Google Arts timeline, which
Right.
to me is beautiful because I'm like, hey, this thing's gonna be there for people to see. It's almost like looking at your photo, I don't know, on a school book like this. You know, these things are there. Like people go to the museum and see it, and it's to me it's wild because again, I grew up listening to them and wanted one day to maybe meet them, to having one of my photo of them in a museum. Um, it's kind of crazy. Like I kind of like when I go by and I see them, like, damn, that's my photo. Like, it's
Yeah.
wild.
So you recently shared a photo from the Midnight Hour show in Oakland from 2019 and said it was definitely one of the best shows you've ever witnessed. With the pandemic
Mhm.
essentially shutting down the live music industry for at least the foreseeable future, how has this changed your plans for 2020 and even 2021?
2020, I'm ready to say a big goodbye tomorrow night. I think it's long overdue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 2021, it's gonna be interesting. I'm confident. Like I know many people that run venues. Um, it's a sad moment because it is what it is. Like I don't know how it's gonna be live music going on in the future. I know I miss live music, and I please beg everybody, wear your bloody mask and stay home because I miss going to show. I miss seeing people. I miss the crowd of a show. Um, and I cannot predict how it's gonna be in the future. It's I hope it turned out to be for the best. To be honest with you, like I, it's hard. Like I'm glad that the people that I know, everybody's safe, and I'm still able to collaborate with Source of Mischief and other people, documenting small things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish we could go back to like proper show. But at the same time, I try to stay positive. Like I I I kind of hope that this thing goes back to like you know a big Woodstock type of things. When we get out of this period, I bet there's gonna be a lot happening, and people want to celebrate, right? People wanted to celebrate before, and
Right.
I think that's what the good about live show, like people being there and just like be in their own zone and enjoying the moment for what it is. So I really hope that when all of this is over and we can finally get together again and so on, there's gonna be probably like a big something coming up, right? I hope. I
Yeah.
even more hope that I get the chance to see it and to document it. But it's I'm I don't know. I'm trying to stay positive and hope that things go the right way. I know that there's definitely a lot of like it's a shit show right now. Like let's be honest. There's not a way to put it. It's pretty much a shit show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hope it gets over soon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the worst part is not knowing. So
I mean, but that's a constant thing, right? Like you never know. Like you
Right.
never know. Like, and I think it's also good to, try to have the right expectation about things. I really hope that when we can go back to it, it's, maybe I see the too much the positive aspect of it, but I think that in this time, lots of people are cooking a lot of stuff, and when finally we'll be able to like see the result of all of it,
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty mind blowing, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, do I like the fact that we are in this right now? Hell no. Um, do I see maybe the positive aspect of it when we're gonna get out of it? I hope it really does. But yeah, I don't know.
I agree.
It's our, it's our.
Well, Nico, I appreciate you so much for taking the time. Is there anything else that you want to add or promote?
Uh, no, I'm good. Just wear your mask, stay home, stay safe. Please do it. We all need it. And no, thank you for give me your times and the platform to talk
Thank
about
you.
stuff.
I hope you have a
Uh,
wonderful new year.
you too, and see you in 2021.
I was gonna say, I hope to be back in San Francisco as soon as possible. So we
Yeah,
we
let me
will
know.
we'll get together with Fran and go have some Fernet. So
Oh, Fern and Fernet, yeah. I don't get it though. Although I'm Italian, never had that much Fernet since I moved to the Bay Area.
yeah,
Still
another friend
baffles
of
me.
mine in San Francisco who makes me have it all the time when I go there. So
Really? Okay,
yeah,
that's interesting.
no.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm ever in New York. Absolutely.
Please do, please do. You have a couch to crash on if you need it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Have a good night. Peace.
Bye.